Hey class, I'm Danny Powers, and the business continuity plan I've been working on is for a company I work for called Casteller Consulting Inc. I'm going to start off today by discussing what Casteller Consulting Inc. does and some of the elements of the business continuity plan um, that I've put together here. So, Casteller Consulting Inc. is essentially a contract management service. And so, while we provide structural and civil engineering, typically for exploration companies looking for natural gas in Cook Inlet or for offshore oil in off the North Slope in Prudhoe Bay. We really focus on contract management. And so most of the services that we provide in-house are also services that we can subcontract. So one thing that we'll kind of weave throughout the presentation or the business continuity plan is the need for connectivity, especially in Alaska, where we're operating in very rural locations that don't always have the best internet connection or phone connection, but we need to maintain strong communication with our clients and regulators and internal communications to maintain our operations. So along with civil and structural engineering and contract management services, we do specialize in environmental remediation. And our primary focus is in Alaska, but we work with several 8A companies that have contracts with the Army Corps of Engineers that facilitates a lot of the remediation work that is needed for the U.S. Air Force and all of their radar stations and dew line sites and White Alice sites. And so in recent years, we've really focused on contracts that have been to remediate old infrastructure, contaminated soils from PCBs, oil contaminants, lubricant contaminants, and digging those up and disposing of them. And so that's really what Casteller Consulting does. So I think that should give a context for the business continuity plan that I'll outline here briefly. So in terms of methodology or how I synthesized information to develop the business continuity plan and initially create the business impact analysis, stemmed from 5 different places. And so first and foremost, I had firsthand experience working for KCI 2 summers ago and have continued to have an affiliation with them. And so while working there, I was initially hired on as a project engineer, but during the winter seasons, when a lot of the construction season and mobilization season weren't going on, I was working on bookkeeping, accounting, human resources. I developed a web page, and so that really gave me a good look into the business and into the personnel. And so I think that really gave me a good context for the extended interviews that I conducted this semester. I conducted 3. The first was with the president, Todd Casteller, and then the next was with another project engineer I worked closely with, who's still working this summer with the company, and that's Thomas Ginn. And then finally with Wendy Moe, who is the official bookkeeper and administrative worker there. From my experience and close connection with them, I had access to their contact lists and vendor lists, which gave me a good grasp of the supply chain and the redundancy in vendors, and helped identify and brainstorm potential disruptions that could come from a vendor leaving the state or whatever the case could be. I also had access to templates for spill prevention plans, which KCI often conducts for other exploration companies that are going off and to do ice road work, or we've done permafrost monitoring for different companies that need to go out and operate in really fragile environmental terrain. And so those spill prevention plans were a really great backdrop for how to manage a disruption. And when an event arises, how do you calmly and methodically take care of what happened in a very sequential way. And then finally, I helped develop the KCI business plan, which was also helpful in this assignment. The objective of the business continuity plan, first and foremost, is to ensure the safety of all of the employees and the subcontractors that we're working with. As a contract manager, we're seeing all types of different folks working under the umbrella of KCI. So that's drill rig operators, that's environmental technicians, that's excavation companies, you name it. And so really making sure that in an emergency or in a business disruption, their safety and health is prioritized. Again, while safety is our foremost concern, we also, with this business continuity plan, hope to and aim to manage disruptions and minimize contract management service disruptions, and to minimize losses financially and other assets. And then we hope to maintain the essential services, both contract management and engineering and drafting. And then in the case of a community disaster that we're present in, the plan hopes to assist in managing that. The scope of the business continuity plan really boils down to identifying the basic critical functions of the company, which, to reiterate or to iterate, our contract management and engineering and drafting services. So from that, we've really looked in this plan at the recovery time process associated with those basic critical functions, and we've looked at the vital resources and relocation possibilities, chain of command, and communication. Relocation possibilities, we have both an office in downtown Anchorage, and we also work off-site in rural places that span from northwestern Alaska to southeastern Alaska. So it's a broad range of remote sites, and so most of the disruptions that we're trying to manage and deal with are really focused around loss of communication. That's our most imminent vulnerability. And so this plan lays out a formal standard communication plan. It details a communication plan if connectivity is disrupted for remote workers. It establishes channels of communication if someone is incapacitated, or there's a question about who may be in charge or responsible for the project. And then it prioritizes a list of key personnel to notify during an emergency, and as well as clients and regulators and other key stakeholders. In terms of relocation, we have three formal relocation sites, one which is a warm site, one is a cold site, and the other are work from home locations. So our warm site is located just in Midtown Anchorage. Our headquarters is in downtown Anchorage, across from the Peterson Building or the Cook Inlet Tower also. Our cold site relocation area is on Rabbit Creek. At the business owner, KCI's president, Todd, his house has a bottom floor office that we're also able to use. The critical functions, as I mentioned, contract management and engineering and drafting. While their engineering and drafting is our trade, there's an abundance of really strong engineers and both civil and environmental engineers that we can call on to subcontract work if we become overwhelmed or a project becomes too big. And so while we provide those services in-house, our most core function is contract management, and that's where we've become most sought after for delivering previous projects on time and on budget, and have built our reputation on. Resource requirements, those are all really, in the industry that we're working in, which spans actually a variety of industries. We obviously deal with office equipment and supplies and GPS survey equipment that can be fragile. We have highly sensitive scales that can't be shipped by normal transportation or air cargo or even barge services, and so they can have enormous lead times. We have field laboratory supplies, crane equipment, heavy duty diesel equipment that comes in, only on a couple barges into several communities once a year, twice a year during breakup and in the freeze up. And so along with barge and transportation services, we are working closely with tug and marine services as well. The recovery time objectives was really the most challenging part of the business continuity plan, because it makes you assign quantitative numbers with best guesses. And so you can see in these 3 points, our 2 core functions are contract management and engineering and drafting, but communication above all is one place where I can't stress enough how critical it can be if it's lost at the wrong time. For example, if a barge is waiting for us in a place like Tacotna on the Kuskokwim River, and they don't want to load toxic material because they don't want to have it on board, and they need to talk to someone and they're not available, it can be really devastating if that project gets delayed for a full year because there won't be another barge. In terms of testing, we're a small company, so we're focusing on discussion-based exercises and tabletop exercises. Topics have included injuries and death on site, loss of communication, spills, failure to complete work, and then all of those things lead to a damaged reputation, which can really put a halt on KCI's business. So I just want to end by saying thank you to everyone in the class for providing feedback and brainstorming in the discussion and blog posts, as well as Professor Lammers for helping review the business impact analysis. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing everyone else's presentations. And yeah, thank you very much.